Tonight on TV47 Weekend Edition, we continue to keep our promise of telling you stories beyond the country. Tonight, we shall take you to Malawi, where we shall be having a conversation with the country's first female president and the second in Africa, that is Her Excellency Dr. Joyce Banda. We shall also be joined by Honorable Jane Njeri, the Kirinyaga County woman representative. In our conversation shall be on Pan-African Women's Day, one that you certainly do not want to miss. Now that and much more coming your way shortly, but first, the highlights.
A deal it is as Amio leaders strike a deal for fresh talks with Kenya Kwanza government. No government official will be out of the country for more than 7 days.
Whatever it takes, we must do together as a nation to make sure that we build our country.
President Ruto limits overseas travel for members of the executive to 45 days per year. And Kenyans are already feeling the effect of the Finance Act as Safaricom adjusts M-Pesa charges to align with the Finance Act.
Well, is Catherine Simaloy. Remember, you can engage with us on social media at TV47 News on Twitter, at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, and my Twitter handle is at Grace Korea KE. Welcome once again to the broadcast. Now, Kenyans are bracing themselves for tough times ahead as the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 takes effect. Now, already, telecommunications company Safaricom has adjusted M-Pesa, data, calls, SMS and home fiber charges to align with revised excise duty in the Finance Act 2023. Now, the new changes will reflect the new 15% excise duty, and as Elizabeth Atieno reports, employers and salaried Kenyans are bracing themselves for a reduction in the amount they will be taking home as salary as the housing levy takes effect.
Kenyans will now be forced to incur more costs on mobile transactions via M-Pesa following the implementation of the Finance Act of 2023, which proposes a tax increase in mobile transactions from 12 to 15%. In a circular on Saturday, Safaricom telecommunication firm listed the new transaction charges, which indicate that Kenyans will now pay a fee of 23 Kenya shillings from the previous 22 in sending 1,000 Kenya shillings. Those sending 5,000 Kenya shillings will now get a slash of 78 Kenya shillings, while those sending between 10,000 to 150,000 Kenya shillings incurring a charge of more than 100 Kenya shillings. On a positive note, charges on calls, SMS, data and home fiber are projected to decrease by 5% from the previous 20 to the current 15%. Mobile banking services have also been affected by the new excise duty rates, and now Kenyans will pay 203 Kenya shillings for transacting any amount between the range of 10,000 to 35,000 Kenya shillings. Employers, together with their employees, will surrender 1.5% of their monthly income to the mandatory housing levy. This means if you're earning 30,000 Kenya shillings per month, then you will take home 29,550 Kenya shillings. Digital content creators have not been spared either in the new tax measures. They will also pay 5% withholding tax. Betting is now going to be a gamble between winning a little or losing everything as the 12.5% tax on betting takes effect. This means that gamblers will now pay 12 shillings and 50 cents for every 100 Kenya shillings staked. Those earning more than 800,000 Kenya shillings per month will now be charged a 35% tax. This group will take home slightly 40% of their monthly income, considering 1.5% will be set aside for the housing levy and an additional 2.5% for medical insurance. These changes take effect just a day after the Court of Appeal gave a green light for the implementation of the Finance Act of 2023, a move informed by Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'o's petition saying the country loses 500 million Kenya shillings on a daily basis due to the stalled implementation of the Act. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth Atieno, for that report. Now, tonight, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is on the spot as detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations launch a probe following the loss of hundreds of millions paid to companies that never supplied any goods or services at City Hall, Nairobi. Now, through a letter dated July 21st, 2023, the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mohammed Amin, is demanding City Hall surrenders a list of tender documents, requisitions by user department, award contracts, delivery and inspection reports, and all local purchase orders issued to profile 9 companies believed to have been used to siphon the money. Now, according to the DCI, the 9 listed firms are believed to have been used in suspected money laundering schemes. Let's get more from Mohammed Abdi.
According to the DCI, the 9 listed firms are believed to have been used in suspected money laundering scheme and fraudulent payments for services not rendered. It is said to be a well-weaved deal in which sector heads in Nairobi County government connive with the procurement officers, contractors and the county treasury officials to siphon hundreds of millions from the public coffers. The 9 companies include Larsen Investment Company, Brasha General Suppliers Limited, Chuim Limited and Feature Link Limited. Others are Cloud Mobile Technologies Limited, AR Pharmaceuticals Limited, Istanbul Investment Limited, Remcon Engineering Limited and Bridget West Limited. The DCI is probing into the mega scam at City Hall comes a month after the Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango declined to approve 1.5 billion shillings expenditure requisitions they made to pay legal fees and development expenditure made without proper providing supportive documents. The planned controversial payment, according to court document, is said to be made with before the end of this financial year, which is just 8 days before it lapses. Mohammed Abdibare, TV47.
And President William Ruto has restricted trips abroad by the executives to 45 days per year. In a memo released by Chief of Staff Head Felix Koskei, no government officer will be allowed to travel abroad for more than 7 days. And as Gideon Yeri reports, any foreign travel must be approved by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
In a memo released by Chief of Staff Felix Koskei, all executive members should also not travel for more than 15 days, and they will not be allowed to be outside the country for more than 7 days in a row, excluding travel days. Ruto has suspended all non-essential travel. Koskei now says that his office shall obtain advisory from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the necessity of Kenyans' participation in the said trip. In his memo, delegations headed by a CS will not exceed 4 people, including the CS, while the ones headed by a PS, CIS, chairperson, and CEO of state corporations will not exceed 3 people, including the head of the delegation. The delegation for the trips shall only include relevant technical people to assist in meetings, deliberations, or presentations related to the trip. Gideon Yeri, TV47, Nairobi.
Gideon Yeri, thank you for that. Now, Communications Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo now says that no data was lost following a cyber attack on the eCitizen platform on Friday. He says that the government has put measures in place that guarantees the system integrity. Let's get more from Eric Matika.
The government now says services at the eCitizen platform have resumed, with the ICTCS Eliud Owalo assuring Kenyans of safety of their data, saying the government has put measures in place to counter such attacks in the future.
The mitigation framework we have around that system thwarted that attempt, and as we speak, we are back to operations. All the services can be consumed virtually as before. We are back to optimal level capacity utilization on the eCitizen platform, and moving forward, we have put in place an elaborate risk mitigation framework to ensure that we pursue our digitalization agenda to a logical conclusion without interference by any extraneous actors or factors. We want to turn Kenya into one digital economy.
Owalo, who spoke during the launch of digital laboratories at Ngia Girls and St. Mary's Sloak Girls High Schools in Siaya County, reiterated that cyber attacks will not deter the government's efforts in providing key services through digital platforms. He said that the digital labs will enhance students with digital skills that they will utilize in the job market in future.
We are doing a total of 1,450 digital laboratories all over the country. For a start, we are targeting TVET. We are also targeting high schools. The purpose of this is to ensure that you have got digital skills, because in the world of today, you cannot survive in the job market if you don't have basic computer skills.
He says the government will digitize business activities to enable Kenyans to market their products online.
Even our mothers who are in the market, they are going to do what is called e-commerce. They will market their products on the virtual platform. The consumers will be able to see that. They'll be able to interact by way of payment electronically, and we are also going to have deliveries from the source to the market without physical interaction between the seller and the buyer.
The government plans to digitize 10,000 services on the eCitizen platform by the end of this year, up from the current 5,000. Eric Matika, TV47, Nairobi.
Eric Matika, thank you for that. Now, Kenya and Uganda have agreed to the joint construction of the standard gauge railway. Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen and his Ugandan counterpart, retired General Katumba Wamala, have signed a joint communique authorizing the construction that is set to begin in December this year. Now, the SGR is set to be expanded into the Democratic Republic of Congo in order to open up the region for economic growth. Let's get more from Vera Alberta.
After a lengthy meeting, Kenya and Uganda are set to join hands in the construction of the standard gauge railway.
The plans is to make sure that this railway, SGR, is extended all the way to Malaba, which is about 369 kilometers remaining to Malaba. And thereafter, the government of Uganda is desirous of taking it another 272 kilometers to Kampala.
While signing a joint communique at the Mombasa terminus, Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen and his Ugandan counterpart, retired General Katumba Wamala, have agreed to extend the SGR into Uganda in order to expand the East Africa region's economic reach.
We know very well that there is greater value and benefit if two countries can come together, or even within the East Africa Community region, we can implement certain programs and projects as a region.
Wamala says that even though Uganda had delayed the SGR project, they are now determined to implement it.
We think the standard gauge will not only promote goods movement, but also other sectors of the economy, like tourism, movement of people to people. So we think it's a worthwhile project.
They have also urged potential investors to look into the project and aid in the provision of construction materials and manpower.
For those who are potential funders out there, I would think you should pick the tab really. This is an opportunity to fund a very viable project. And as we look at financials from elsewhere, we also have the African Exim Bank, our African Development Bank. They could also look at this one.
The construction of the SGR is set to begin in December. Vera Alberta, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, Vera, thank you for that. Now, following the high rate of illiteracy among adults in Baringo County, women in Tiati area have embraced technology through education. And as Eric Matika informs us, the women have noted that the lessons will help them in running their business activities.
They say knowledge is power, and none could be happier than a section of women who are involved in the bidding business in Baringo, as they are acquiring knowledge they can use to conquer the world. The women, most of them of advanced age, say the education program provided by the Baringo County government will be of great benefit to them. They have cited cases which they have been scammed and even lost money, but now they are happy because they will gain knowledge and be able to avoid such fraudulent cases.
Nataka nisome, nijifunze, kushika hata pesa yangu mimi mwenyewe. Hata simu zimeingia, lakini watoto wanatutanganya koko, leta hii simu tukuangalia kama iko kitu ndani. Na kumbe anaangalia, lakini anachukua hiyo pesa na kurudishia simu.
Tutafaitika sana kwa sababu utachua kutumia simu yako. Ukitaka kutoa pesa yako utatoa mwenyewe. Utachua hata kusoma Biblia.
This 83-year-old granny says she didn't get a chance to go to school when she was young because of the community's tradition where girls were not allowed to study, but now she is one of the many beneficiaries of the program.
Mimi nataka kusoma kompyuta na mimi na kujua na kufanya kuuza kila kitu, shanga na kila kitu.
The Director of Information and Communication Technology in the county has commended the county government for the program, noting that more than 8,200 people are registered under the program.
Training them on ICT skills will give them an opportunity to be able to sell their wares online. And we say that the world is a click away from this center. So we want to train our people to be able to sell their products.
He has also called on the Ministry of Education to increase the number of teachers under the program. Eric Matika, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Eric Matika, for that beautiful, heartwarming story there. And we are due for our fast commercial break here on TV47 Weekend Edition. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Right, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, President William Ruto insists he will not allow the opposition leaders to disrupt the country. Speaking in Mombasa County, where he commissioned CFAO Motors Toyota Fortuner Assembly, the head of state warned the opposition against instigating chaos and violence in the country. Paul Munir reports.
President William Ruto insists that his administration will not allow the opposition leaders to continue disrupting the country following the anti-government protests that have claimed the lives of tens of Kenyans. According to the head of state, violence and property destruction cannot be the solution to the current economic status.
There cannot be space for violence in our political equation, that we can engage in politics that destroys property, that causes loss of life, that destroys public infrastructure, that is not going to be the way. And whatever it takes, we must do together as a nation to make sure that we build our country We provide opportunity for the young people of our nation.
On his part, Trade CS Moses Kuria and MP Mohammed Ali urged Azimio core principles to allow President William Ruto to implement his manifestos and deliver his promises to Kenyans.
Tafadhali mimi nakusihi na nasihi ndugu yangu Raila Odinga. Tafadhali kwa miaka miwili tu, ulala miaka miwili. Tuendelee na kazi halafu uamke baada ya miaka miwili.
We will not allow anybody to sabotage this government. Your Excellency, tumetembea hii nchi kuunda hii nchi. This country belongs to the hustlers. We are going to walk the talk to make sure that we will give the president his time to serve this country.
The leaders spoke during the launch of a new vehicle assembly line in Miritini to support government's plan on phasing out commercial cars importation by fully transitioning to local assembly, a move expected to create more jobs to the youth.
Automotive manufacturing and assembly in Kenya is a sector with immense potential. It creates vertical linkages and backward integration with numerous players in Kenya's industrial ecosystem, including MSMEs, creating massive opportunities in the process.
We have capacity locally to be able to assemble commercial vehicles, especially the big trucks. I want to assure you that by the end of the year, we are going to transition into 100% reliance of locally assembled commercial vehicles, especially the truck, so that we can be able to create more jobs for these people.
The president will tour Kwale County Sunday. Paul Muniu, TV 47, Mombasa.
Paul Muniu, thank you so much for that. Now, don't forget, coming up shortly will be a conversation on Pan-African Women's Day. Actually, this day is celebrated on Monday, July 31st, yeah? But we come early. We do things early. We like to do them early. And so we're going to have that conversation today. And basically, this is a day that is there to honor and to celebrate the foremothers of this continent, that is Africa. Hence why one of our panelists shall be the first female president of Malawi and the second in Africa. That's Her Excellency Dr. Joyce Banda. And of course, we shall be having Kirinyaga woman representative Jane and Jerry in studio. She's actually already here with me. I see her waiting eagerly for this conversation that shall be coming to you shortly. But let's take this next story here. And President William Ruto and Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga have agreed to hold talks to end the current political impasse. Now, the new round of talks will be chaired by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, who will spearhead a 10-member committee to find a lasting solution to the current standoff that has left scores dead in last week's deadly protests. Now, TV47's Apollo Kamau reports.
After a week of counter-accusations on last week's violent anti-government protests that left scores dead, sobriety has finally prevailed in the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio camps after the two sides agreed to hold talks through a 10-member committee to be chaired by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. An announcement that was communicated in two different statements, Kenya Kwanza through Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and Azimio through Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi in the National Assembly, prompting varied reactions from the Kenya Kwanza camp.
I want my president to listen to Baba. For all the wisdom he has, let him take anything that comes close to sharing power. He should say no, because we formed a government.
There is no Munusumukata here. Kenyans voted for William Ruto. We have trust in William Ruto. What Raila has a beef with when it comes to William Ruto, we don't want it to be done behind the doors. Let it be done before everyone.
The 10-member committee will comprise 4 members from outside Parliament, 2 from each side. The leaders of Majority, Kimani Ichung'wah and his minority counterpart Opiyo Wandayi, and 4 additional members of Parliament. The two sides are, however, yet to strike consensus on the agenda of the talks, with Azimio omitting the agenda of the talks in their statement, while Kenya Kwanza cited IEBC, the establishment and entrenchment of the official leader of the opposition in law, the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Constituency Development Fund CDF, and the 2/3 gender rule. Wandayi also did not sign a joint statement with Ichung'wah, saying he is not aware of Ishungwa's letter exposing differences on the agenda of the talks. Ishungwa's letter had further stated that the Finance Act should be decided in the courts and not in the streets, terming it sub judice, a reason why Wandai did not sign the joint statement. Each side, however, gave way to the talks in their two different statements, expressing their desire for a democratic and peaceful resolution of issues that beset our nation, expressing our condemnation and regret on violence that has visited our nation with loss of life, serious injuries, and the destruction of property, affirming our commitment to adherence to the Constitution and the rule of law, determined to resolve our differences amicably for the benefit of all our people. We have therefore agreed to establish a committee of 10, read the joint statement. Saturday's breakthrough comes after President Ruto and Odinga agreed to meet and talk after Odinga claimed the president snubbed Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu to mediate the talks. Azimio's